May was one of those months that it was kind of like everything happened here in Halifax, but you want to find out the actual numbers, so let's give you the details. Hi everyone, we want to give you all the information right from the source, which is obviously me, basically, here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So let's start looking at how the market actually performed in the month of May, compare it to May last year, let's compare it to April, and just basically figure out this market, because May was one of those months that you kind of expected it to be busy. And it definitely was compared to April. Now, compared to May last year, not as busy, but we all know that 2022, kind of like leading up into May, June were kind of the high points of last year's market. And therefore, you know, the run of the last 3 years that we've had in terms of activity, prices, multiple offers, over asking, all that good stuff. May, June 2022 was kind of the peak. So let's have a look at what's going on here for May 2023. Well, the average price point came in at $609,399. Let's just call it $609,400, which was actually down 1% on last month, April, but also, more importantly, and this wasn't really that much of a surprise, down 5% on last year, because last year, 642 was pretty much the high. So when you kind of look at that and go, yeah, the average price has come down. But when we look at sale to listing price, we were still at 101.5%. So roughly $8,000, if I can read this properly, $800 over asking price was kind of the average for the whole of HRM. Specifics are coming later because we always go into the top markets. But if you look at that and compare that price point of 609 and we compare it for like going back to say the start of 2021, which is really when everybody kind of said this is the run up of the market, we're up 43% over roughly 2.5 years. That's a big run of like price increase to take. So like if we could all go back to 2020, I'm sure that we would be buying lots and lots of houses and leveraging ourselves to the hilt to make sure we could buy whatever we could, because yeah, a 43% increase over the last 2.5 years is pretty impressive. So that's the average price point. Now, when we start looking at days on market, we are 24 days on market average. Last month was 25, last year was 12. So 24 days on market, like we're kind of getting roughly towards that 1 month on market. That gives you a little bit of a clue that properties are definitely sitting that little bit longer. And from my experience on the ground, it's definitely been the case of you've got to be careful, sellers, you've got to be careful where you price your property, because we'll go into it and there's been lots of multiple offers, but there's also been houses that are kind of like, you know, sitting on the market for, you know, a month to maybe even 2 months, 3 months before they actually go conditional. So that's affecting our days on market. We're now at 24 days. Like I say, 25 was last month, so we're kind of hovering around that, like basically 3 and a bit weeks on market. So they're definitely sticking around longer. Look at the months of inventory, 1.3 months of inventory. Last month was 1.8. Last year was 0.8. So you can see there that, yes, we definitely had a flurry of activity due to the number of sales in the market. We had a flurry of activity from the number of listings that came on the market, but we listed more properties, we sold more properties. So the overall inventory did actually drop down to 1.3 months, which is still a crazy seller's market. And if we go back and look at this, you'll see from previous videos that we've basically been hovering around 1 month of inventory for like 2.5 years, maybe even 3 years. So that gives you an idea as to, like, you know, how quickly we've come off that. And we just don't have the number of properties on the market to satisfy the number of sales that are taking place. Now let's also couple this with all the wildfires that have just taken place, unfortunately, in Upper Tantallon area, and it's just going to make the whole situation worse. So advice for buyers, if you're looking and you have houses now, you need to do everything you can to kind of keep that deal together and stick with it, because my feeling is this is only going to get worse for the next like 4 or 5 months. because I think we're going to have a lot of people who have suffered, unfortunately, the loss of their property that are going to say, I'm not rebuilding, because that rebuild is about 1.5 to 2 years to get that done. So they're going to start coming into the market, and guess what? They've got insurance money and they need a house, like quick. So that's going to add a flurry of activity into the market, which is just going to create more demand, more people going out there buying, and obviously we're going to have a lot more stress. So get ready for multiple offers. My feeling is June into July, we're going to have a lot more activity, a lot more multiple offers, a lot more serious buyers. So buyers, start getting on that bus and start buying houses, like, putting offers in, and get it done now before it becomes really difficult. There is some rumors as well about another mortgage rate increase coming. Not so sure whether that's going to happen now, but it's just something to be aware of, that's going to show up as well. Let's look at the number of sales. So the number of sales in the month was 510. Last month, that was 356. So we're up 43% on last month's number. But last year, that was 620. We are down 18% on that. So you can see that May, June last year were definitely the high points of activity in our marketplace. Number of houses active for sale, 679. Last month, 626, so we're up 8% on last month. Last year, only 469, so we're up 45% on the number of houses that were active. But that stacks up when you look at 0.8 months of inventory, that stacks up with that way. So when you kind of look at all these numbers, is it getting a little better? It's getting a little easier, but it's absolutely, if you're in that sweet spot of between $400,000 and $650,000, I did some analysis, and that was over half of all the properties that were sold in HRM were in that 400 to 650 range. So it's a really competitive marketplace in that price range. Also, on average, it was $20,000 over asking price in that kind of price range. Now, that's not to say that we're not still getting a lot of multiple offers if you're over the 650, because we just were part of one at, what was the price? I think it was 680 listed. No, 675 listed. 5 offers, multiple, definitely went higher than what we did. So that gives you an idea that no price bracket is immune to going over asking price. It's just at the moment, 450 to 650 or 400 to 650, that's the sweet spot of where basically half of every buyer that's out there, half of the buyers, are actually looking in that sweet spot. So that is by far the most competitive area. Now let's look at the areas. That was the price range, sorry. If you look at the areas, Dartmouth. Dartmouth is crazy popular right now. Kind of all the areas in Dartmouth, because there is about 7 different areas of Dartmouth, but it's really popular right now. It's not one of the top selling markets just because it is quite spread out in terms of the different areas there, but like Dartmouth as a whole is definitely one of the most popular areas, and you'll find out what's going to be number one. You can guess, really, because it's not changing too much, but you can guess the number one market. So sales to new listing ratio. This is where we like to look at this number, because this gives us an idea as to if we're above 100%, then we are obviously having a lot more listings than we're having sales. And that's what we really want to start looking at. So when we look at this, we are at 79% sales to new listings. So we sold 510. There were new listings of 645. So again, we're not putting a lot of inventory on the market. What we would like to see, if we were going to try and build more inventory on the market, is you need that number to be more like in the 50s, so that basically you are putting double the amount of sales of the new listings that are coming on. So this isn't houses for sale. This is how many did we put onto the market. Of that 645, some of them definitely sold because we're 24 days on market. So a lot of that 645 was actually for sale and got sold in the month. Now, when we look at last month, it was 71%, pretty similar to the 79% for this year. Last year, though, that was at 90%. So you could see that we were pretty close to that 100% number, because like I said, 100% is basically we list 650, we sell 650. It's not what's active, it's we listed 650, we sold 650. If we listed 500 and sold 600, we would clearly be more than 100%, so that's a problem. So we want it to go the other way. We want sales new listings to be higher than the number of sales by quite a lot to change this market. It's not going to happen because we can't just suddenly find an extra 1,000 homes and put them up on the market for sale right now. That just would not happen. So that's really what's going on in terms of everything in the stats numbers. Now, we did have a lot of over $1 million listings that sold as well. So there was 30 homes that were over $1 million that actually sold. 12 of them were over asking. And an average of $54,000 over asking. 18 were under asking, $128,000 of sale to listing when they were under. So in other words, on average, under asking was $128,000. Those were primarily in the Bedford, the Southwest, and there was a couple in ahead of St. Margaret's Bay as well, which is ocean fronts and stuff like that. So they do tend to get a little bit more price points. So that gives you an idea of the general market. Now, specifics. Number one, we were actually in Timberley, Prospect, St. Margaret's Bay, which is, funny enough, the area where we had all the fires. But they had 57 sales in May. There's only 80 houses available, so that gives them 1.4 months. Average price point there, and again, some of these $1 million houses were in that area, was $639 and a bit thousand. 32 days on market, so roughly a month. So that was the number one market. Number two was Sackville. It's always in the top two, I want to say. 46 houses sold there, only 13 available for sale, 0.3 months. Stupid hot market right now. An average price point there, $475,500, 9 days on market. So if you're in that lower Sackville area, it's crazy hot right now, and it's multiple offers basically on every house that goes up for sale there. Number three market was East Hants, Colchester West, which basically is Enfield, Elmsdale, Lance, all that area. 44 houses sold, 86 available, so 2 months of inventory, 38 days on market, so it's taken a little longer up there because there is so many houses available, and we are at a $472,000 average price point. So that gives you an idea of the top 1, 2, and 3 markets. They're not changing too much from month to month, really. So it kind of gives you an idea when you look at the price, when you look at the location, when you look at the houses available, the condition of the houses. Those 3 top markets are basically where the majority of people are shopping. Now, if we group all of the Dartmouth ones together, of which there's about 8 or 9 different areas in Dartmouth, that would absolutely be number one, no problem. But there is 8 different areas, and it is very popular there. Price points are anywhere from $559,000 looking at this to $464,000, $448,000. So they're kind of all over the price point there, but very popular as well. So those are our stats for the month of May. If you have any questions, you can reach out with a comment down below. You can smash the subscribe and hit the bell, and then at least you'll get notified of everything we do. And just reach out and get in touch, and we'd love to give you some information about the market, about the process, about strategies that we use to get our offers accepted, as well as putting properties up for sale to get the best amount of money possible in this market.